endeavor can be a role model for all of us at all times and in all ages. And my third obeisance is to the Lokatma, to all of you, whose eyes give me strength. According to my understanding, whenever Gandhiji used to start and end his day with prayers, like in Nagaland, all the meetings, all the functions start with prayers, exactly like that. In Gandhiji's ashram, in the morning at 4 a.m. and at 7 p.m., there used to be all religious prayers. These prayers were Christian hymns, Hindu shlokas from the Upanishads, from the Quran, Buddhist prayers, and from the hymns of the great saint poets of India. But especially when he used to undertake fasts, and he undertook fast for 17 times for social cause. He used to request everybody to sing his favorite Christian hymn, which is "When I Survey the Wondrous Cross, on which the Prince of Glory died. My richest gain I count but lost, and pour contempt on all my pride." So this used to be sung every day. Sometimes the fasts were for 21 days. So I also pray to bless us all, to bring harmony, peace and love for each other in this very ancient land of the Nagas. And I am very happy to be here today. I acknowledge my grateful thanks to His Excellency, Governor Shri Raviji and Lakshmi ji for inviting us here. And I'm grateful also to the Honorable Chief Minister and his wife who have graced the occasion today. This is my very first visit to Kohima along with my husband Dr. Ravi Chopra. But our relationship with Nagaland started many years ago. I was born in Gandhiji's Sevagram Ashram. For all of you who may not be familiar where this ashram is, so I must tell you that it was in Maharashtra, near Nagpur. So in his lifetime, Gandhiji established 4 ashrams. 2 in South Africa, called the Phoenix Settlement and the Tolstoy Farm. And in South Africa, he worked for 21 years. And 2 in India, called the Sabarmati Ashram and the Sevagram Ashram. And these ashrams, when I heard about the community life of all the tribes here in Nagaland, that entire experience of being in a community life in Gandhi's ashram came alive in front of me, because that is the life we also led in the ashrams. A huge community of 400 people living together, sharing the joys and sorrows, vices and virtues. And this was Gandhiji's dream of a face-to-face non-violent society, which is already existing in your society, and we have a lot to learn from you. So I am very honored and humbled to be amongst you all. According to my understanding, Mahatma Gandhi's life was an epic of faith and endeavor. His faith was in truth, the ultimate analysis of truth, and he endeavored to attain it through non-violence throughout his life till the very last breath. the foundation of his strength was in his faith in God. And that gave him two realizations, that he had to be nothing but an instrument in God's hands. He had to go wherever he was led. And he understood that the path of truth that was available to him in whatever measures and form had already been walked upon by the greatest teachers, masters, saints and seers of the world. He had to walk on that path. And the second realization was that he had to constantly gaze inwards through introspection to find inspiration. After all, you are the only one who can inspire yourself. No other person can inspire you. That is why Swami Vivekananda had said, arise and awake and stop not till the goal is reached. In Gandhiji's case, he found truth from the nectar of life. All of us, when we are born from the nectar of life, we are all truthful. Till the fear of the society does not cloud our truth, we are always truthful. Gandhi never allowed the fear of the society to cloud his truth. His definition of truth was very, very simple. Utter as you think and act as you utter. That means there has to be harmony between what you think, what you say, and what you do. As simple as that. That is why when he said, my life is my message, open any page from his autobiography, which is called, do you know what is the name of the autobiography? Anyone? My Experiments with Truth. And that is available in Assamese also. I don't know whether it is available in your language also or not. But maybe it is time to translate it in your language as well. Open any page and you will find inspiration. And perhaps that is the cheapest inspirational book available in the world. In 1925, when he wrote the book, it was being sold for 1 rupee. Perhaps it is for 60 rupees. But while we buy books, inspirational books of various people, they are very expensive. This is the least expensive book which everybody should read. So for him, truth was very easy. And since he said, my experiments with truth, he was a scientist experimenting on himself all the time. So everything that you learn from Gandhi needs to be experimented on yourself. He had said that truth is God. Satya hi Parmeshwar hai. And that gave him another realization, that if God is omnipresent, then truth is omnipresent too. That means in each one of us, there is an element of truthfulness present. There is an element of godliness that is present. Again, that means that all of us are capable of being truthful. All of us are capable of being good. Mahatma Gandhi's endeavor throughout his life was to identify that goodness in everybody, arouse it and to nurture it. This is the reason why he felt oneness with everyone. He did not have any hatred towards anybody. He did not want to settle any scores. He did not want to take any revenge. For him, everyone was part of his family. And this oneness, which is very, very obvious, which was very obvious to him, is not easily seen by all of us. But the moment we start understanding that we as a human family are interdependent and interconnected, we will understand that ultimately we are all brothers and sisters, wherever we may come from, whichever religion we may follow, whichever path we may take of happiness and harmony, we are all one in the ultimate analysis. And this oneness, because of which one of the qualities of leadership that developed in him was that he treated individuals as individuals without attaching any labels. That is, whether he was rich or poor, whether he was a minister or ordinary person, whether he was a man or a woman, elderly or a child, didn't matter to him. For him, everybody was the same, and he accorded the same respect to everybody. These are the leadership lessons that while I'll be telling you the Gandhi Katha, I'll be unfolding his leadership traits also, which are very easy to follow. And since we have to experiment on ourselves, this is where we start changing ourselves. Because Gandhi had said, be the change you want to see in the world. And it has to start from us. So these are the little lessons that I keep telling people in the Gandhi Katha, and very easy to understand. The other realization was that however treacherous the history of humankind has been, it will always move towards an auspicious direction, because truth, that is God, is only interested in the welfare of its creation. So ultimately, Satyameva Jayate, truth will always triumph. I will now tell you a short story, because now I was of course born in Gandhiji's ashram. But my father spent many years in both the ashrams, in Sabarmati and Sevagram. And for many years he worked with Gandhiji also. So, in the ashram, Sabarmati ashram, when my father was about 5-6 years old, and Gandhiji was 56 years older than him, for the children of the ashram, because there were many children in the ashram, Gandhiji was not the Mahatma. He was not even the political leader, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. He was not even the Bapu of the ashram. Bapu means father. He was not the Bapu of the ashram for the children. For the children, he was merely their friend. A friend with whom they could go to the Sabarmati river, splash water on each other, go for a swim. Every morning and evening, Gandhiji used to go for walks, 18 kilometers per day, morning and evening. And his speed was so fast, it was like as fast as your speed, I think. Our governor also is the fittest governor in the whole of India. So that is the kind of fitness that Gandhiji also had. And the children had to run to keep up with him. And sometimes he used to keep his hands on the shoulders of the children and swing there and have fun, because he used to really love children very much. So for them, he was merely a friend with whom they could quarrel without qualms. Because after all, it is only a friend who will stand by you, who will never feel bad of whatever you do. He will always support you. So it was that kind of friendship that Gandhiji gave to the children of the ashram. That means they treated children like my father. Gandhi treated children like my father as individuals. That is a great quality. And he told me that he had gone to some country, maybe Ecuador, and there was this very wonderful gathering of people, and there was an elderly gentleman also in the meeting. The lecture was going on in English, but the translation was in Spanish. That was the language of that place. So he narrated this same story. So after the lecture, the custom of that place is that if people liked his word, and the lecture, then they come to the speaker and shake hands with him. So this gentleman also came and held on to my father's hands, and he kept shaking, and he knew only 2 words in English, and that is thank you. So he kept saying thank you, thank you, thank you, and didn't leave my father's hands. So my father asked the interpreter, he said, what does this man want to tell me? Because he's not leaving my hands. So interpreter said, you had told the story. So this man is saying that I want to hold the hands of that person on whose shoulders Gandhi had kept his hands and feel the vibrations. That is the kind of resonance, that kind of reverence that people have all over the world. So this was when my father was a child, but when he became an adolescent, Gandhi changed completely. Now he became a taskmaster, a very, very strict taskmaster, because he was very punctual, prompt, and disciplined. So he sometimes he used to be very, very particular about things, and no mistake was expected from anybody. So then that is the experience of working with Gandhi. So as an adolescent, he was in Sevagram. At that time, he told a story, and maybe we will share a photo of the cottage, which is called Bapu Kuti in Sevagram. It was a very simple dwelling made of locally available material, and Gandhiji used to sit on the floor, and people who used to come to meet him used to sit in front of him. And hundreds of people used to come to meet him with all kinds of suggestions, criticism, problems. All kinds of people used to come. So maybe the ashram management wanted to save his time. And because of which they had put a board behind that white backrest. And that board had 3 sentences of 2 words each, which was displayed for the person who was sitting there. He could see it very clearly. And the first one said, be quick. The second one said, be brief, which I must also follow. And the third one was a very difficult one. It said, be gone, chalte bano. Now here my father, who was an adolescent at that time, and when we are adolescents, we are very critical of people because we like to point fingers at others and find faults without realizing that one finger points towards us. We have to see our faults first. So, but anyway, my father was an adolescent, so that's all right. But I hope we have all grown up from that stage by now. And my father said, this is wrong. This Gandhiji, who is from Saurashtra, which is very well known for Athithi Satkar, or looking after the guests, is not properly following the customs. What is all this? Is telling all this to the people. And I must do some investigative journalism. I must find out why that he's doing that, and then correct Gandhiji. So my father followed one person who had gone in 2 minutes he was out. So he said, excuse me, sir, did you meet Gandhiji? That man's face lit up as if a 1,000-watt bulb had gone on. And he said, yes, of course I met Gandhiji. So my father said, what kind of a meeting is this? You were not even there for 2 minutes. What did you talk in those 2 minutes? So the person said, yes, it is true that I was not even there for 2 minutes. But in those 2 minutes, Gandhiji poured himself into my heart. He entered my heart. That was the kind of love that he gave to everybody. That is the kind of respect that he gave to everybody. My father told me that Gandhiji was not a great speaker. He had a very soft, very gentle voice, because from his childhood he was a very shy person, and he had a problem speaking in front of others in his childhood, and that of course got over by the time he reached South Africa and he went through the experience of racial discrimination. So he was a very soft-spoken person. There were many, many great speakers who could give great speeches for a long length of time. But there was no better listener than Gandhi. He could even hear the unspoken words of the adversary. And that was something, a very great quality of the leader who can hear the unspoken words of the adversary and make him feel so comfortable, even if the adversary had come to him with a lot of anger or many complaints. Even before he could say anything, Gandhiji would articulate in front of him that this is why you have come, so okay. So this is how it can be solved or whatever. So this is the kind of quality that he had. In a century when he lived in the first half of the 20th century, when the world was dominated by hatred and violence, there were 2 world wars, the Holocaust and the atomic bomb. When it was a world full of intolerance and hatred, Mahatma Gandhi came across as the beacon of hope, as the person who, a single person who spoke about non-violence, ahimsa, and insisted on truth. His principles are truth, non-violence, and purity of means. Many people know only 2, truth, satya, and ahimsa. But his insistence was on purity of means. He said, if your goals are pure, your path also has to be very, very pure. Your means have to be pure. If you want peace, if your goal is peace, but if the path is full of violence, you are not going to reach there at all. It has to be a path of non-violence. Like if you are, I see a lot of students, so if your goal is to excel in your studies, but if you waste a lot of time, and there are many time wasters or time killers nowadays in the era of technology, you will not be able to reach your goal at all. Because I want to ask you a question. We all have one single non-renewable resource in our hand, available to us. Can anyone tell me what is that one single non-renewable resource that all of us have? It is our time. Time is something once gone, it never returns. What is going to happen tomorrow, we don't know. But what we have is this time. Today, present time. So it was very important for Gandhiji to utilize every minute of that present time. And in fact, our friend Horace Alexander, who was a Quaker and a pacifist and a writer, who spent a lot of time with Gandhiji and came to Sabarmati Ashram, he noticed that in the ashram, the bell used to ring for 56 times during the day. There was so many activities happening, and for everything bell used to ring 56 times. And he called Gandhi a slave of watch, because he was very, very particular about accounting for every minute of time and every penny that he spent. So these are the things which made him what he was, a person of integrity, of honesty. There was no difference between what he did and what he said and what he did. No difference between his individual conduct and public life. It was one and the same. There was total transparency in whatever he did. Albert Einstein, the greatest scientist of the last century, called Gandhiji as the supreme practical leader of change. And I don't know whether the audio will come. No. So what he had said, he had written many things, but one of that was, I believe that Gandhi's views were the most enlightened of all the political men in our time. We should strive to do things in his spirit, not to use violence for fighting for our cause, but by non-participating in anything you believe in evil. He had also very famously said that generations to come will scarce believe that such a man in flesh and blood ever walked on this earth. And I belong to that generation. I have not seen Gandhiji. I am not even related to him. But his blood flows in my veins, as it flows in the veins of each one of you. It is the same blood. And my conscience, my Chaitanya, your Chaitanya, the world's Chaitanya, the God's consciousness is all one and the same. We are all one. That is something which is so beautifully brought out in Gandhi's life. He made such significant and seminal contributions to fields such as economics, society, education, politics, international peace, non-violent movements, civil disobedience, about civil rights, and many more such fields. And he comes across as the most powerful and strong leader who has left a very, very great imprint on the world. He had said, "My life is my message," and that only a person can declare who is supremely confident about his conduct. I had said in the beginning that we have a long relationship with Nagaland, and it started in my childhood days when in Sevagram, Gandhiji was experimenting with constructive activities. That is in 1936. These are those activities to establish the dignity of the poorest of the poor and to bring justice to him or her. One of the activities was basic education.